Tēnā koutou e te iwi, nau mai hara mai, I roto I tēnei kaupapa, ngā kōrero tangata toi, tēnā koutou anō. I just want to welcome everybody to this evening's first major event where we are doing an artist talk here at the Ngā Toki exhibition. So all those people that are online watching, we just want to welcome you as well. This is a new thing for all of us, but welcome. So TMAC stands for Te Tai Tokerau Maori Arts Collective. This exhibition is a celebration of that 10-year journey, really reflecting back on the time of our genesis as a group. However, the collective of our crew is much older than just 10 years. We've been mates for many, many years. Most of us have trained together. We've had mentors and shared the same mentors, done the same experiences. And so when Colleen Wata Ehrlich called us into certain activities and exhibitions, of course we came running because she was a very important person in our lives. And in addition to that was Manos Nathan, who again was a mentor to many of us, and they were the ones that really began to drive TMAC as we entered into an exchange program with our First Nations people from Australia who are online right now watching us. And so this is a shared event with them. We have their works here as well. And so it's just been a great time, really enjoying it. It's a beautiful place. We're in Hihaua in Whangarei, where this exhibition will close on the 5th of December. Our first speaker is, I believe, Bindi. Now, just before we pass over to Bindi, the amazing thing about her when we first met her was she was very quiet, but her artworks were rich in color, rich in flavor, rich in cultural narratives, and then she pushes that into a very contemporary space. So let's put our hands together for Bindi.
Hi to all you guys. I've missed you so much, and I must say, exhibition looks absolutely fabulous. Painting Nayan, which is bush tucker, in that you'll see the white flowers are lemon myrtle, and you'll see quandongs, and you'll see wattle seed and bush tomato. And from those works, I'd actually triggered into, there's another series of paintings that may be just focusing on the lemon myrtle, the flowers and strawberry gum leaves and things like that. I've been working in a couple of schools. I'm a poet, and the primary schools use some of my work in their Indigenous studies. So what I've done lately, I've been working with spray cans, street art. So public art. I had quite a few jobs interstate lined up earlier this year that all went west when the borders closed. So I've actually just been catching up with them. So I've been on the road a fair bit myself, and really enjoying the colour range and what you can do with a can of spray paint. It's like I don't think I'm going back to brushes for quite a while. Been doing some work on polycarb, clear light sculptures. So I've found a way to get the paint to stick, and they have turn a light inside them. And I'm kind of keen to really take that further. I've interested now in public art that's going to be informative and that. So a series has gone down to South Australia to national parks, and they've got a big resurgence and people walking through the parks and doing night tours and that. And we're working on getting it so there'll be a QR code, and as you approach them, they will light up, and the QR code will tell you either some of the local Indigenous stories for the area, or there'll be ones that will tell you what nocturnal animals might be around there at the present. So that's probably the last biggest painting I've done for quite a while. I'll probably focus on the more public art for a while and see what else is offered up next year.
Moving into new materials, new spaces, which I'm guessing will encourage new designs. How do you deal with some of the traditional styles within a very contemporary expression? I mean, how do you deal with that?
There is this big expectation of us over here as Indigenous artists. There's an expectation of cross-hatching or dots, and I kind of struggle with that sometimes, because I've delivered work and someone said, well, I thought you were an Indigenous artist, and that's not looking particularly Indigenous. And then you kind of need to say, well, that what I do, I will say that culturally I haven't got access to a lot of stories and that, and a lot of the stuff that I would address would be contemporary issues. Ultimately, I feel more comfortable probably moving in towards more of a contemporary style. Yeah, that's a difficult question. What the heck, BJ?
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, and I think you, or kind of, when you look at my work, you'll see that I don't have that. That's just the Bindi style. I can kind of move about a fair bit. So it's probably older work that's like very much ochre colours, and it's may have some cross hatching or dot work in it. And then there's other work like that. And there's always, I think as an artist, I'm always actually like re-examining thing. And you're also dictated by material also. Like I do have some work that if you were to look at it, you would have no clue that it's an Indigenous, I'm an Indigenous artist. You know, there are those things that I've done that are just fully maybe to meet a market or something like that. So I'll leave you with this. I market my creativity as opposed to marketing my art. And I think in doing that, it opens up a lot more doors. And I probably would get incredibly, if I was still doing the same stuff like over and over, I would probably give it away, because that's not the fun. The making is the joy to me. That finished product is that's just byproduct, really, kind of deal. So, yeah.
We're going to move on to our next speaker, who's a very, very good friend, Mr. Howard Joe Butler. Now, before we start with him, he's a cheeky guy, mate. Like, he's really cheeky. When we first met with these guys in Thornhill 2010, it was a bit of standoffish. So we were figuring each other out and figuring out how we work. And one of the things that connected us most was humor. And the guy who, started all that humor was Joe, with all his cheeky little pranks and things like that. But here I'm standing in front of one of his pieces of artwork. Just an exceptional painter. His technique, I tried to figure out his technique, and he's got a few tricks up his sleeve that he keeps hidden. But I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Howard Joe Butler to start talking about who he is, what he does, and all the influences that have shaped him. So, kia ora, Joe.
Kia ora, BJ. How's things going over there? Pretty good?
Oh, yeah. Can't complain.
Yeah.
No snakes, no spiders, no spitting dangerous frogs, just mosquitoes.
I just picked up a snake just a couple of weeks ago. Just took it to my nephew. So, common old things around here. But anyway, I'll get to my little story here. Okay then. Well, my name's Howard Gordan Butler.
Gordan.
Nicknamed Joe, well known as Joe. I'm growing Eamon Gunglu Murray from Queensland in Australia. I've been dabbling in art most of my life. Don't need these to do the art though. But yeah, known the boys and the girls since 2010. Thornhill, brilliant place to meet up. I was actually approached by Nadine Jones and Maud Cook Davies to come along and join up with your mob. And I thought, oh well, this is a great idea, you know. I can muck around with you fellas. So got into it when I come along. Matches all. I thought, you know, the way you've done your meeting, your opening, was great. You know, made me stand back a bit, you know, and think, you know, really, what can I do? I thought I was just a common old artist, but proved to be different. The piece that we've got here now is all about Tokerau. Tokerau is a very special bird over in New Zealand, so I've been told. It's the white herring, and it only shows up on special occasions. Well, special occasion was last year when I was invited to the gathering over there last year. The wife and I, we both went over it, and I didn't know what to do. You know, I started putting the painting up, just started muck around. Like I call them scribbles. No, I come up with a scribble, you know, just put the background on and thought, you know, what can I do? What can I do? And then I thought, I'll put this bird here. And then when I put it there, everyone come over and looked at it and said, Tokerau. And I thought, Tokerau. Well, that's a good one. So yes, I painted the wings spread as in open arms, welcoming people. And the background's all earth colours. I've done the rack, we call it rack, as in cross-hatching. I've done all the cross-hatching as in 3 different shades of white. And Tokerau's actually looking up. I've also put lines with blue dots all in the centre. Now, blue dots all in the centre represent waterways, billabongs. So these three pieces of artwork that's in the middle there, they're actually waterways. And on the outer side of the waterways, we've got our fish. So the fish that Tokerau always takes people to and lets people know that there are fish around the area. So that's mostly the story on Tokerau. We use it's like when Tokerau's over here, like Tokerau, we've got Tokerau over here as well, but we've got a different name for him. I'm just not aware of that one yet. But we use Tokerau as for our traditional hunting. Like we watch the Tokerau, where he goes, there are fish. So we follow him around, and every time he jumps down in the water, we know there are fish there. So he's very special to us as well. Anyway, the dot work, like I said, represents the waterways. Background, all about the earth colours from our earth, and Tokerau showing everyone where we go. Like I said, I've been dabbling in artwork for all my life since I grabbed a pencil. I watched my sister sketch, watched her sketch, mimicked her, followed her, done what she done, and then I come out with my style. My style's a lot different to a lot of people. I've got paintings around that really amaze a lot of people. We've just had an exhibition in Early Beach just last week, and I put about 4 pieces of artwork in, and we've got quite an immense, review on that. Like, a lot of people loved it. They saw Colleen's and myself. We both put our artwork in, plus our son Brandon, his artwork, and everyone loves it. With Aboriginal art, it's a story. It's a story that continues on. The reason I say it continues on is because when I use blues, greens, in different colours, I'm beyond dreaming. So, using the traditional colours, we're using our Dreamtime colours. Using other colours, we're looking beyond the Dreamtime. So that's when we're moving on and utilising different colours.
Hey, before I let you go, one of the questions I want to ask is, since we've known each other as brothers for the last 10 years, has your work been influenced in any way by the artists here in Tokerau and your engagements with our New Zealand artists and First Nations artists from around at different gatherings that you've been at?
Yes, I can't. It has been a big influence. I've started picking up a few techniques off your followers, just a couple little niggly ones, but just a couple of little lines and all that, just showing something different, added in with the Aboriginal artwork, and man, it just stands out, eh? Everyone wants to jump on it, so I got no problems.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Joe. As you can see, I've got Victor's work is right next door to yours, and he has tried his best to merge some of those styles that we've been talking about, the influence of your whānau on us, and I think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. So thanks for all your help and influence and fun and friendship, and we look forward to many more. Thanks, Joe.
Next time, mate.
No worries, man. We're going to move on to our very next speaker for the evening, which is a lovely lady. This is Dorothy Waetford. Now, in front of me is one of her pieces. One of the amazing things you need to know about this beautiful woman is that she's solid as, dependable, trustworthy, beautiful, single. No. I'll give you my number online so that you can come through me. Nah, just joking. She's an amazing artist. We've been friends for a long, long time, and she has been producing these amazing shapes. And we'll probably go over to her other friend that's down the other side there to talk about her work. But anyway, I want to pass over to Dorothy.
Kia ora, BJ, my friend. Yeah, kia ora, everybody. Just want to, mihi kia korua, Bindi, Joe, and I seen Kayleen in the back there. It's so good to be with you here today and hear your words and feel you again. We miss you fellas in this space together. So I'm really glad that we're doing this. Yeah, and just a little bit about me. I'm Ngāti Wai, Ngāti Hine, Ngā Puhi Nui Tonu. I live in Matapauri, beautiful place on the Turakaka coast. I've been, my background in the arts started in the 80s with a group called Te Kanikani o Tarangatahi, a Maori dance group in Auckland, and that group evolved into Taiao Māori dance, and I sort of went from that into visual arts after I moved from Auckland to Matapauri with my kids. And I got to know this mob, T-Mac mob, iwi mob, when I finished Teachers College here in Whangarei and went to Northland Polytechnic. And that was my introduction to Māori, contemporary Māori visual arts, really, and artists around the country. And got to know people like Manos Nathan and Colleen Ehrlich and Sandy Adset and a whole lot of other amazing people that have contributed to all of us, really, here in this exhibition, one way or another. So, yeah, just want to acknowledge all of those people too that have gone before us, those that are here with us now and those that have passed on. I'm going to talk to another piece, actually, which is over here that, also talks to this one of Joe's. So let's go. So Bindi was talking about being a mare. So that's a colloquial name, if you didn't know, for potters or people who work with clay. And for us in Te Reo Māori, that's uku. So I've been an uku or clay maker or kaimahi uku since those Northland Polytech days. And Manos and Colleen were a big part of that mentoring, and Bay, Riddell, Pairo, Cornell and Wi Taiapa, Ngā Kahanga Uku. Anyway, this is a piece that I wanted to talk and share about today. So Joe, this was something that I started end of last year at the Pūhoro gathering at Tūranga Waiwai. And it was a piece that was reflecting a whole lot of stuff for me that was going on there. And I find that a lot of my work is a reflection of what's going on around me, either immediately or things that have sort of been sitting there for a while. And as Manos used to call it noho puku. Sometimes things take a while to digest, and they may come out in a piece, they may come out in several pieces. And I guess something that I'm working through as an artist or somebody that makes mahi toi is how do we kind of create a continuity in our work and the language that and the stories that we're building from one piece to the next and so on. So I wanted to address this piece today because this was made at Tūranga Waiwai in December last year as part of the gathering, and for me it was really significant that we were at that marae next to that river, the Waikato River, and that river was really speaking to me. There was a lot going on at the gathering with lots of artists from all over. Joe and Kayleen were there. And one way to sort of help through those really intense times sometimes is just to go into work, which is what I did with this piece. And the river was speaking to me, so I tend to just work internally from an internal space and just trust that, if you like. So I started to make the work. I didn't know what it was, didn't know what it was about, but I knew it had something to do with the awa, the river, and I knew it had also something to do what was going on at the time for us in Tūranga Waiwai as part of the Pūhoro gathering. And one of the significant things that was happening there was the raising of the flag. So 7 o'clock every day while we were there, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there would be the flag raising in the morning, and then they would take the flag down in the afternoon. and there would be one of the kuia, the local kuia would come from the community on her scooter, her mobility scooter, and she would turn up 5 minutes before 7 o'clock, 5 minutes before 4 o'clock, and wait for one of the male artists to come and join, to either raise the flag or to drop it. And her role was the kaikaranga. So as the flag was going up, she would karanga to the flag, and as it was going down, she would also karanga. And so as I was making this work and thinking about the river and thinking about the haukainga there, the local people, the shape started to form itself, the form, and also when it came to the head, I went to have a look at some of the faces that were on the main whare there for inspiration and a bit of guidance. And so that all sort of happened quite simultaneously, where the mouth became wide open and the eyes became alive. And then I left a couple of holes at the top because that fire was connected, and I wanted to represent that connection somehow. So the piece formed itself, and then it sat there for a long time before the surface treatment, if you like. So it's been painted with a lot of slips and different colours, white, black, and then a red. But then some of in the application of the slips, there's a few little things that helped resolve some of the challenges that I was facing. I always wanted to be a painter, so I'm open to painting tips. But anyway, I'm really happy with this piece, and when I was trying to think of how to name it and to tell this story, a big part of that whole time at Tūranga Waiwai was feeling the new space that we are all stepping into at the moment. It's a leadership role, and it's not an easy one to step up into, and there was a lot going on at that time at Tūranga Waiwai, and as a new generation of artists stepping up into those leadership roles, if you like. And so the name for this piece is Tēnei Whakatipuranga, because it's an acknowledgement of those who have gone before us, and it's also acknowledging this next generation and the way in which we're doing things the best that we can with the tools that we've got and the lessons that we've learnt. So the name came from a piece that was choreographed by Stephen Bradshaw from Tai Ao Māori Dance back in the 80s. Anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge the many networks of Māori artists that have gone before us, really. You know, like we're all interconnected in amazing ways. So this piece is talking about the generations that have gone before us, the generation that we are, and the generations to come. So yeah.
Thank you, Dorothy. I do have a question. One of the things that keeps popping out with your entire kōrero was this sensation of feeling. And so for our First Nations people in Australia, we call that wairua, right? And so being able to tap into the spiritual side of who we are. So when you're working through a process, and I know there's when working through a process, you're figuring out the material and you're doing all these types of technical things. How do you maintain the wairua within the work?
You know when you're in the flow, hey, and you know when you're not. So keep working at finding that center and letting the things flow through, And then when you've got that flow and you find that place, you just keep working from that place and it all starts to flow. And then, you know, trusting it as well, because I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I was doing something that was connected to the river. And I knew the river, or I felt that the river had a feminine energy. And sure enough, when I checked, it is a feminine. And then, like I said, the fire, our kuia that was doing the kaikaranga for the flag, she was the other strong po at that time for me. Yeah, consistent every morning, every afternoon. So that was almost like a resting place for me to go and rest with her and watch that whole process. Yeah. And that those connecting points really helped to find that flow. And then it just came. And same with the application of the clay, the slip, like a paint. I had to really find that connection again and then trust in it. And it happened, it started to happen, but it needs more and more practice to feel confident in it. That's my understanding.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dorothy. That was absolutely amazing. Really appreciate your time again. So first of all, what I'd like to do is acknowledge all the artists that are in this show and all the artists that are part of the Tokerau collective that couldn't be in the show because of COVID, and really appreciate everybody's work and the beauty and caliber of what everybody has produced. One of the things that Colleen always pushed for all of us was it had to be at an international standard. It had to be at that level. And just looking at the works in this show, it's such a proud moment to be able to say that everybody has achieved the expectation of Colleen Wata Ehrlich in their execution of work. It's just really, really beautiful. So I wanted to acknowledge that of everybody. So if I just shoot around the corner here, I can show you some of the crazy stuff that I've been up to. It's cool. So as you can see, these are the paintings here that I've been working on. This is, believe it or not, this was a dream that happened during a Zoom session. So no, I was awake, but it was something that happened while I was in that Zoom session, and for all of a sudden I was away with the fairies, and I found myself in these sheet type things, dust covers, and they were very, very heavy and hard to break out of. So once I broke out of one, as you can see on one of the paintings there on the right hand side with the glowing triangle, I knew I was a chief. And I looked around inside this workshop, and it was filled of all these figures in a fetal position wrapped in these sheet type dust covers. And as I got up, I tried to get away, and as I was walking out, I realized that the sheet was attached to my puku, and my pito, sorry, and it was like an umbilical cord. So even when I pulled on it, it hurt. So it was a very out of it dream. Trust me, it was a dream. It wasn't influenced by anything else. And so I went out of, long story short, I went out of this place and I had to sever the sheet from me and chuck it in the ground, bury it, because I knew it was like a placenta. And then I woke up, and I remember turning to my wife, who was in the same Zoom meeting as me, and going, was I doing anything stupid? And she goes, no, you've just been sitting quiet. And so I said, I think I need to go and have a cup of tea. And anyway, the revelation out of this whole thing was the realization that if your genealogy is Maori, then you are a descendant from a chief. Regardless, you come from a high bloodline. So you're royalty. And even in the processes of how our ancestors lived their life, They had these very strong moral values and why they were able to operate as such strong, bold leaders. And I knew for me personally that this was a challenge to myself, but also a challenge to the state, or from my perspective, of where we might end up as Maori, where we have been under dust covers, pulled out every now and then to play Maori, and then put back under the dust cover. And we've been doing that for far too long. But we've become comfortable with that whole thing. And so for me, this was a wake-up call. And that's why I've called them things like maranga, or ka oho ake, which is to awaken or to arise, to realize who we are. And the beauty that I can say about every single artist that is here, and the thing about artists, full stop, is they are courageous because they have to put their ideas, their wairua, as Dorothy's just talked about, their traditional values, their cultural principles, all out on show. And that takes boldness to achieve. It takes courage to actually do it. So I want to also encourage parents that have children that are super creative. Man, those are the game changers of society. They're the ones who have dreams and are willing to push the boundaries. Picasso said it best when he said, you know, everybody is born an artist, but the challenge is to remain an artist as you grow older. And if you have an artist in your family, encourage them to stay creative, to push the boundaries, to push their thinking, to push their belief systems, to inspire others. Because that's exactly what our mentors have done for us. We've had Manos Nathan, Colleen Ehrlich, Ellen Wihongi, there's been Cliff Whiting, Sandy Yates. Man, we could go through a massive list to realize how much richness is in our lives. And we want to be able to do that for our young people. So that's my sort of artwork at the moment and my contribution to this arts talk. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Now, this lady is absolutely amazing. She is a powerhouse to be reckoned with. When she gets focused on something, you know it's going to happen. And so I'm going to pass it over to this amazing clay sculptural artist who is going to become a painter by the end of this year. Yeah. And so I'm going to pass it over to Rhonda. Are you ready, Rhonda? Never ready, eh? Okay. Here you go.
Thank you, BJ. Inga mana, inga reo, inga awa, inga pātaka taonga tuku iho, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I just want to acknowledge our mates over in Australia, Bindi and Joe and Kayleen. Thank you guys so much for coming in today and speaking. And, you know, I know you guys are really full on, so thank you very much. And to all our mob mates, thank you for sending your mahi, beautiful mahi over for our show, because it's such an important time to remember. 10 years ago, we were over at your place and exhibiting over there in a travelling exhibition. So thank you very much, and it's such a shame that COVID happened, because I'm sure that if it hadn't, we would have all been together again over here at home and enjoying each other's company. So in the meantime, with this is our new platform. It's a little bit different, but it's still keeping us connected, which is what this is all about as well. Also want to acknowledge Tokerau Māori Artists Collective, because as you know, with shows of this esteem, it takes a lot of months of hard work and preparation. So I want to acknowledge them because of all their hard mahi that they do and all the beautiful work that they also contribute to the exhibition. So they're all rounders and pretty professional people, and I'm really, you know, stoked that they're my whānau and my friends. Also want to acknowledge the support from Hihaua Cultural Centre, which is where we're showing today, as well as Creative Northland, because we need to keep good relationships flowing and ongoing, and it's been amazing to connect with these groups as well. And also to Ngā Toki FM, thank you very much for coming on board and using this new platform that we're all learning, and it's kind of freaky, but you know, we're getting through it and we're learning through it, and because of COVID, this might be the new platform that we might have to keep going with. And of course, got to have a big acknowledgement to Creative New Zealand for their sponsorship. They're our main funders, our main sponsors, and without them and their support, we might not have been able to pull it all together. So I just want to acknowledge them, because that's a massive support. Thank you very much. So anyway, ko Rhonda takiwingoa. So Rhonda is my name. Ko te ahu te maunga, which is my mountain. Ko Parawhenua te marae, which is Parawhenua is my marae. Te uri tane wha me Ngāti Hareira a my hapu, and ko Ngāpui te iwi, so Ngāpui is my iwi. I live up in Waipapa, so around Kirikiri where my roots are. But what I'm here to talk about is a specific piece, which is behind me in the corner. It's the buttons are on it. It's called Connections. If we could move in. So I actually made the buttons a couple of years ago, and like a few things that I've done in the past, I've created stuff not knowing exactly why I'm making them, and so I put them to the side. So 2 years later, we're coming into this space here to set up this exhibition, and I wanted to acknowledge our relationship with Thornhill and Colleen and Manos and Maud and Nadine and all the whole crew that we first met when we went to Australia. And it wasn't just the mob that we first met and were introduced to, but also our own whānau that went over with us. So first time I met Todd, and now we have a relationship still going 10 years later as well, who's part of TMAC. So anyway, so on the buttons, when you look at it landscape, it reminded me of the dot work that our mob do in their artwork, or some of their artwork. And believe me, when I've tried doing dot work with the back of a brush, and what do they use, toothpicks? Oh my goodness, it's so tricky. Honestly, try it, it's so tricky. So anyway, I thought I'd replicate it with the buttons. So ceramics is my thing. I love uku. And it was really freaky because 2 years ago when I started twittering around with buttons, these are almost all the buttons that I'd done, so they worked out perfectly to tell the story. So right up here is a tiki with a mato on, and that is representative of Maud Cook-Davies, who's our kuia, who was at the time living in Bundaberg and working for a corporation called Gordan, which looks after the affairs of the Aboriginal mob. It's similar to our Runanga over here. So she got talking to our two beautiful manus here, which is Nadine and Jude, who were the Pākehā ladies who were also talking to Maud and connecting us to Manos and Colleen. So Manos is represented by the style, the northern style, I guess, of carvings. And of course the tiki with the stance with the hands on the hips is Colleen. And it's all connected with Aotearoa. And then we flow down into, we come up with the tohu that was designed by the group, but I think it was Ellen and Sid, come up with the tohu for Thornhill, which then we are connected again when we come down to here. We're also connected together for life now. We're lifetime friends, we're lifetime whānau, and we will put our heads together, we will rejoin, and we will continue this flow backwards and forwards. So there isn't an end, there isn't a beginning. It's just a continuum of a relationship. So that's where that work comes from. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the way it worked out, and it's just sometimes you don't know why you're making work until the time comes when you need to bring it out and share it. I think that's me anyway. So I just want to thank everybody for listening tonight and coming along, and I think BJ is going to sum it all up for us. Ngā mihi no nui kia koutou katoa. Kia ora.
Rhonda, before you take off, just one more question. I've asked everybody else a question, so I may as well ask you a question. What do you think about this outfit? Nah. Hey, that was thanks. So for you, you've been one of the driving forces here in terms of not just TMAC, but in terms of maintaining relationships like we all have. But when it comes down to it, you push it. Where do you think this relationship could form or grow? Do you have any other vision outside of just where we are right now?
Yes, well, it's really interesting you say that, because even like we also need to acknowledge our elder too, Roger Saunders, and within that space he does these awesome 3D artworks. But there's also Luke Barracliff who did the videography for our stay over in Thornhill, which we've got a DVD of. So if you want to watch it, you can come down and we can play it for you on the TV screen here. But Luke got in touch with me just the other day, and this is that continuum of relationships that we're talking about. So we went to Thornhill. We had them over in our whare at Taupara Marae in 2012 and invited them to take part in the Ngāpuhi Festival, which we do, the exhibition. And then in 2015, we were invited back again by Joe and Kayleen to do Highfield Gathering. Yeah. And so we would have probably looked at arranging another gathering here, because I think it's our turn. But Luke, who's I mentioned, could possibly be looking at something next year. Awesome. So it's that conversation that we keep having with each other, and I mean, we're going to be long-time friends, and even if nothing happens because of COVID, we're in this space now where we're still connected with art, and we're still connected in a new platform. So COVID's not going to stop us from reconnecting anyway. But in a physical form, we just got to wait and see what happens. Yeah, around the world actually. But yeah, ongoing. It's not going to stop. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. To our mob family over in Australia, just want to bless you guys. We really love you, and to your pathway in art, we wish you all the best. We look forward to many more journeys together, and to all of our artists that have participated in this exhibition, just super proud. And also to all our family of Tai Tokerau Māori Arts Collective, that because of COVID, we had to reshape everything and keep a very small exhibition. I want to thank everybody that has contributed to TMAC over the last 10 years. And just say on behalf of the crew that's here today and the family in Australia, we love you all, and have a great evening. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.